Hi. I'm not doing a normal 5 on Friday today because it's just been a really huge week and I knew it was going to be a big week and I thought I would also take the opportunity to introduce my own book, which is kind of terrifying. I'm feeling quite, I don't know, I guess vulnerable is the word now that this is an actual book. So the first copy came to me on Tuesday, I think it was. So Christina Schulz, my publisher at UQP Books in Brisbane, which is fortunate they're in Brisbane, she texted me and said that the first few copies were in and she was going to bring me a copy over to school. So she literally went into work and opened up a box and got me out the first copy and drove it over in her work time, which was just so kind. And then she proceeded to just sit there and reassure me that it was always an overwhelming feeling when a new author, particularly a first-time author, gets their book put in their hands and they see it for the first time. And look, it was so nice because I was at school, obviously I was at work, school, when Christina handed me the book, and I was actually sitting outside. Well, actually, when she arrived, I was sitting in the junior school reception, and I saw her, and I was mid-conversation, I think, with our junior school receptionist, Mrs. Morrison, who is just like the best thing ever. And I think I just screamed and stopped mid-conversation, completely ignored her, and just ran out and had a look at it. It just was such an overwhelm. It was not a scream of excitement. It was a scream of... I just felt really, really nervous. I've never written a book. I never intended to write a book. It just happened. So for those of you who don't know the backstory of my book, I did a speaking engagement at a place that shall remain nameless about 2.5 years ago, and it was the worst speaking event I've ever done. I'd had speaking events booked out, sold out in the previous 2 weeks, and this venue clearly hadn't advertised the event, and there was like 5 people there, and one of them was Christina Schulz from UQP, and I just was mortified because I knew Christina, and I just was like, oh, of all people to be here. And I wasn't sure why she was there, and she was just there because she said she hadn't heard me speak before and she wanted to, and was interested in what I was talking about. And she came up to me afterwards and she just we were chatting, and she asked me if I'd ever thought about a book, and I looked and went, no, I review books. I don't write books, remember? I prefer to leave the writing to the experts. And she just said, but you are a writer. You write on your blog every day. And I don't know, I just laughed it off, and that was sort of the end of that. But she continued badgering me, I suppose, over the next 6 months or so, and just talked to me on and off on email and in person when I saw her at literary events. And she mentioned, you see, I can hardly even talk about it. She sort of mentioned this idea of a book based on my blog, but also all of my years as a teacher librarian, and distilling that, I guess, information about what teacher librarians do and the best way to raise a reader into a book. And yeah, she was obviously really passionate about the idea, and I was really passionate about the idea if somebody else did it. Anyway, it happened, and I've written a bit about that on my blog this week. There's a blog post where I go through that story in a bit more detail, and all in the lead up to the book being published, I am going to do a blog post every week where I talk about different elements of the book in the lead up to the process, in the lead up to its publication, talking about the process of publishing it. It's been an unbelievable journey, and it just feels absolutely surreal now to have this book. And it's not a tiny book. I guess I don't know what I thought. I in my head, I had no concept of what size it was going to be. I'm slightly overwhelmed that my name is so big. Yeah, it's got a spine. I'm going to do what I do with the kindy kids at school, okay? So, boys and girls, because we have boys in our kindy as well, even though we are then a girls' school from prep onwards. So boys and girls, what part is this of the book? This is the front cover. And we all yell, front cover! What's this, boys and girls? And they all yell, back cover! What's this part, boys and girls? And they all yell, spine! And then I say, and feel your spine. Remember, that's the part of your body that keeps you nice and straight. And if you didn't have a spine, you would be wibbly wobbly like a jellyfish. And the spine is the part on a book that keeps a book held together and nice and straight. So I don't know, to have my own spine on a book with, actually I've not looked at the spine until right now. It's got my name on it again. I don't know, to have my own spine on a book is overwhelming. To have my own ISBN is also overwhelming. I always planned to have an ISBN tattooed on me. And Dan used to say, nah, dude, that's going to look like a prisoner of war tat. And he had a point. So I never did get an ISBN tattooed, but I don't know, there's still time. I don't know, I could get my own ISBN tattooed at this point. It's just very exciting. I don't know if it's because I'm a librarian, but I'm really excited to have an ISBN. It's also got end papers. Ta-da! And when I said to Christina, oh, I can't believe you did end papers, she just went, it's you. All you do is talk about end papers, as if your book wasn't going to have end papers. So, I don't know, it's exciting. It's really, really nerve-wracking. I have actually spent the week going between crying and feeling completely overwhelmed and wanting to hide under a rock. And people at work have been so good. They're hilarious. A couple of them have made, well, actually not a couple of them, most of them have made a lot of fun of me. Some of them, you know, I brushed past someone the other day and they turned around and went, ooh, too much of a celebrity now to speak to me. So they're all being very funny about it. And yeah, I don't know. Everyone's been really lovely. All the comments on social media have been lovely. None of you have read it yet, so I don't know. I hope what I have said is useful. I'll tell you a bit in a minute about, I guess, what the book is essentially about. Christy Aiken, how big are the words in this book? The words are really small, Christy, because there's like 72,000 of them. Look at that. Look, I wrote those words. I wrote those words mostly after my husband passed away. That's the other thing that really gets me. Yeah, I don't know where all these words came from. I wrote the first 2 chapters before Dan passed away. And yeah. Could you stop that? That's my dog, and he can see a bush turkey. And he would like to go and chase the bush turkey, which I would be happy about if he actually ever got rid of the turkeys, but he doesn't. Yeah, thanks, Tyson. Christy Aiken, no, dude, you are not going to have to take a year reading this book because guess what else? It's going to be an audiobook. So, Christy, you can just listen to it on audio, travelling up and down to your fancy house at Mullaney. Beck Robinson, you are the only author I know who got end papers, special treatment. Beck, you've got end papers. I'm sure you've got end papers. Leah, yes, I wrote this book especially for people like you who talk to me about their kids and their reading and are proud of their kids and their reading and want to do all of the right things by their kids with their reading. So you are exactly the sort of person I have written this book for. So I'll tell you a little bit about the book. Basically, it's as Christina first approached me, it's basically all of my years as a teacher librarian and an early childhood teacher distilled into a readable format. So it's not academic. In fact, it was a lot more academic to start with. Dieback house, look at my end papers. I wrote it probably a bit more academically than it's turned out. I had quite a lot of research in there, and I guess I come from I was going to say reasonably academic family. Yeah, but my sister's watching and she's now laughing. She's very academic. I not so much. I do have 3 degrees, but yeah. Yeah, but I do. Look, I like the research behind reading, the science of reading, I guess. And I guess that's how I approached it initially. Christina and the people at UQP, particularly Kathy Valance and Christina, really encouraged me to make it much more readable and make it much more just digestible. This is the sort of book that you can dip in and out of. It's non-fiction, so you dip in and out of non-fiction anyway. Nobody needs to read this book from cover to cover. If you've got an older child, you can just go to the tweens and teens part. If you have got a baby, you are getting no sleep, so you can just read the baby part, and yeah, so forth and so on. But I guess I've tried to take you on a journey, I suppose, from your child's birth up until their tween or teen years, and just talk and think and process, I guess, all the things that I know about reading development and other people have told me about reading development, and put it into an easily digestible format with lists of books for certain ages and stages, looking at genres and what genres your children should be reading, and looking at technology and the impact that technology is having on our reading habits. And that sort of thing. Michelle, no, it probably isn't going to help a mum. Will it help a mum who doesn't read books? Oh, look, of course it will. Yes, of course it will. But yeah, you got to read as well. Although, you know what? I talk a lot in this book about the power of audiobooks, and I have to say, for me, reading is all about the story. I do talk about the mechanics of reading in here. So I do talk about sight words and readers and all of those sorts of things. I don't talk about flashcards because, no, flashcards and I have a very unhealthy relationship. I think they are evil. But I do talk about the mechanics of learning to read. But I have to say my passion is creating a love around the story. And I think audiobooks are well and truly the way to go with creating a passion around story if you are a non-reader or if you have children who are non-readers. So yeah, I've just, I guess, tried to, I don't know, look, this book is aimed at parents, but it's also aimed at early childhood educators, whether that be in the childcare sector or in schools, and it's aimed at primary school teachers, and it's aimed at grandparents as well. I often think that grandparents are the ones that have got that, I don't know, they're a bit more fluid with their time, although I'm not sure my parents would say that. They're incredibly busy. Some grandparents have a lot more time, and they spend a lot of time with their grandkids, and sometimes I think it's the grandparents that are doing a lot of the reading to children these days, because parents are just so busy working 2 jobs to keep everything in place. And yeah, so it's aimed, parents, grandparents, educators. I hope it's useful. I think that there'll be something in here for anyone that's got a desire to encourage a love of reading in their children. And I think that's all of us, because reading does improve academics. It is the cornerstone of all education, and it's just so vital. I just can never, when parents say they want to be involved in their children's education, this to me is the number one way that they can be involved in their children's education, by reading with them and by doing reading activities with them and bringing books to life. If you want to give your children the edge, if you want to support them in their reading journey, if you want them to just have this deep, deep love of words and images and literature, then you are the people that do that. Teachers are a large part of the equation, but parents and carers and grandparents are, I think, equal in that equation. You just cannot, I don't know. Look, I know I'm a librarian, but I just think about everything that's happened to me in the last 5 years since my brothers died, and then my aunt died, and now my husband, and I just think books have been such a solace for me. They have been such an escape, and they have been for my girls as well. And I just don't know how I would have coped if I hadn't have read some of the books that I've read. And I look at particularly my nearly 11-year-old now, 11 going on 13, who is all about the eye roll and the door slam and the leave me alone. But I know I've seen those times where she's chosen, instead of having a huge meltdown, I've seen those times where she's escaped into Harry Potter for hours on end. And I think of all of the failures I have as a parent, and I have so many, I think the fact that I have been able to create readers is just such a gift for my girls, because they can escape into a book at any time that they want to, and I don't care if they never ever get a single award at school, but I know that they will always be an engaged student because they can read, and they love reading, and they love words, and they love playing with words, and they love throwing words at me when they're angry. I don't know. Of all of my failures, this is not one. And I guess I just hope I offer some comfort to parents who either don't have a reader and want to have a reader, if not a reader, a kid that just loves story. You know, I talk in this book about children who have difficulties with reading or are reluctant readers, and I haven't talked about it a huge amount, but I do have a chapter, and I have called in some experts in the area of reading difficulties and supporting readers who are reluctant. My dog is going mental about a bush turkey. I just wish you'd get rid of them out of the garden, dude. You are so useless in so many ways. Anyone want a really anxious staffy? He comes with Valium and Prozac. I'll give you a month's worth. So I do talk about reading difficulties and reluctant readers. I have called in some experts to talk about that in the book as well. I know for me, it might look like my journey's been easy in terms of creating readers because I am a reader, my husband was a reader, and I am a teacher librarian and a teacher. But it's actually not always the case. I've got, there's other members in the family who are not readers, and there are so many people in my lives who have children for so many reasons, experience reading difficulties or are just reluctant readers. And I don't want this book to seem like it's unattainable for you to create a reader in your child. I think reading these days can come in so many forms, whether that be audiobooks or apps or graphic novels. I think every single child, I believe, should have an identity as a reader in whatever form that looks like for them. So I know a number of kids with dyslexia and other reading challenges who still have great identities as readers, and I've profiled one in this book who is the daughter of a really dear friend of mine, and she's just got such a great identity as a reader, despite reading being such a challenge for her. And I don't want it to seem like I am someone standing on a pedestal as a teacher librarian saying, we're holding up my own children as models as readers, because that's not what I'm about. And look, even my own children, I remember my now nearly 11-year-old a couple of years ago, I just was beside myself. She just was not reading anything. And I just was like, the wheels are coming off. This is all going to be really embarrassing. The librarian's daughter's not reading. But she went back to it, and I persevered, and Dan told me to back off. And yeah, I don't know. It's sort of, I think we all go through stages where we love things, you know? I love gardening, but the reality of my life at the moment is my garden looks like complete and utter shite. But I will come back to it one day, and I think kids and adults go through those stages with reading as well. You have periods in your life where you read so much and books are such a solace, and then you have other periods where you can't read anything. In the first year after Dan died, I don't think I finished a single chapter book. I just couldn't. I could read nothing more than an advertisement in a magazine. I just did not have the focus and the concentration, and I think that's oh, Justine, you'd love to keep watching, but Riley has said goodbye and asked me to read a story. See, perfect. My work here is done. Yeah, I think you can go through different stages with your reading. I really do. I remember being so worried I would never go back to being able to read a whole chapter book again. And I have, and I'm back fully into reading now, and I love it. I think we also live in an age where we're so distracted by technology, and we read in shorter bursts due to social media and blogs, and we're not used to that long period of sustained reading. And I've addressed that in this book as well, and I've asked someone who's an expert in mindfulness as well to talk about mindful reading, which is something I talk about at school all the time. And that just ability to switch off from everything else and dive deep into a book and get into the flow and the rhythm of a book. And I think it's something that's really important to teach to our children. So, I don't know, I hope that the book will have something to offer parents, educators and grandparents and anyone interested in children's literature. But I don't know, I guess only time will tell. I am unbelievably nervous. I don't know if some of you have just logged on, but I have spent the week crying, and I'm not a crier, and just feeling ill about it. But I know that it will, I know that I won't feel okay about this book until after the launch and after the first few reviews come in. I've asked UQP to send my dear friend Trisha Buckley the first copy of the book, because I guess she's the person I'm most nervous about having to read it, and I think she'll be honest with me. She reviews books for the CBCA. I have a whole turkey convention happening right outside. I would turn this around, but you would all be alarmed. I have 6 turkeys walking past my kitchen door. And that's also why I don't do any gardening. Christy Aiken, so many people gave me a hug. It's been horrific, Christy. So many people have hugged me this week. But I almost hugged the Year 6 teacher, Jo Mitchell, this morning. I actually said to her, right now, I'd just been crying, and I said, right now, I'm feeling so vulnerable that I could almost hug you. And she was like, let's just hold hands. I was like, that's all I want to do. I've been feeling very not okay this week. It's been an overwhelming experience. I didn't expect it to feel this weird. I didn't think I felt that attached to my words, but I think with a blog, if I don't like something, I can delete it and I can edit it and I can throw in the apostrophes in the place they're meant to be when someone points them out. Thank you, Linda O'Gorman. But with a book, mate, this is permanent. I can't edit these words. I cannot edit these words now. And my glory, I'm so worried about how it will be perceived. And what if there's an apostrophe in the wrong spot? And I know that's why there's editors and proofreaders and all the rest of it, but it just feels really nauseating. Anyway, I'm going to stop because this is ridiculously long and nobody needs to hear me talk like this. It's so self-indulgent. That's the other thing. It feels very self-indulgent. Anyway, also self-indulgent is having quite the amount of events I have happening. So on the 4th of April, if any of you are Brisbane based, I have got the official launch, which is at St Aidan's, which is where I work. And it's $15, and there's going to be lots of wine and lots of cheese. We do an excellent grazing table, can I just say. And there's going to be books for sale, my own book, but also books by local Brisbane children's authors and illustrators. And it's going to be epically excellent. And Where the Wild Things Are will be doing the selling of the books. And I would really love it if you are Brisbane based and you know me either from social media or through my blog, or as a personal friend. Yes, you can buy my book on the big night, Michelle Fanning. If you know me at all, or if you don't know me and you just look at my earrings online, which is probably all I would do with me, please come along. I just feel I feel so grateful for my online community who have been so supportive about my book, so incredibly supportive when Dan died, and I just feel like, I don't know, the online world has given me so much, and I would really, really love to meet very many of you in real life. So if you are Brisbane based, please come along to the official book launch. Christy Aiken, I realised the other day I might have to sign books. I'm going to have to work on my handwriting. I got really crappy handwriting. I'll work on that for the big night. If you can't make it to the 4th of April, I've got an event happening at Riverbend Books a couple of weeks after that. And I'm really excited about that one because my beautiful, 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 divine Trisha Buckley is going to be interviewing me that evening. And there will be tears, no doubt. I don't know. There will be laughter. There will be tears. Trisha Buckley is going to be in conversation with me about all things to do with children's literature at Riverbend Books at Bulimba. And I'm really excited about that. And I'm so grateful to Riverbend Books and to Where the Wild Things Are for their immense support of me over the years. Both those bookstores in Brisbane have just always been my biggest champions, and I love the people in them very dearly. I'm going to be flying to Melbourne for the day to speak at an early childhood conference. I'm leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be great. I am going to be on fire, and I get back at 11 o'clock that night. It's going to be a great day. So I'm going to Melbourne for the day. I'm going to Canberra for a few days. My book is having a book launch in Canberra at the ASLA conference, the Australian School Libraries Association conference. It's going to be for sale in the National Library of Australia bookshop, which I am so excited about. So I'll be in Melbourne, Canberra. Don't have any other dates booked yet. Oh yes, and yes, Margot, in New South Wales there, my book's going to be for sale at the IBI International Children's Book Day event, which is on the 6th of April, and I actually would really, really like to go to that, can I just say quietly, but anyway, I can't. Small children and all of that. And I'm also doing lots and lots of Brisbane City Council Library events in March and April. And actually some in August, which are already booked. So, you know, if you're a little bit busy between now and whenever, you could put my August dates into your diary. I'm also speaking at a few schools. I'm speaking at BBC, and I'm speaking at the Griffith University Childcare Centre, which I'm really looking forward to. I've got lots of speaking engagements over the next little while. So, yeah, I have a book. It has a back cover with a blurb. It has a spine. It has a front cover. It has a title. It has an author. It's got an ISBN. It's got end papers. It's got a really nice bio photo, which I really hope still looks like me by the time I get to the book launch. And it's got words. And I feel really ill, but it's going to be great. I'm also speaking at, where else am I speaking? What have I said? I've said Where the Wild Things Are, St. Aidan's. Oh, my first gigs. My first gigs are at, my first official Welcome to the World party is at the Somerset Festival, which is at the Gold Coast. If you are Gold Coast based, I would really, really love to have you come along. I know some of you came and saw me last year when I was at Somerset Festival, and it was so nice to meet people that I had never met in real life last year, and I would love for you to come again. This year I am doing my own event. I am speaking to parents and maybe educators if you can get a morning off work. I am speaking about raising readers and, oh, Andrea, hello. Somerset Storyfest, not festival, thank you. I'm speaking at the Somerset Storyfest, and I am really, really excited about that event. That's actually my first official event as an author. So it will be the day after my daughter's 11th birthday, so March the 21st, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm really excited about it. And you're not going to believe this, I am quite beside myself. That night, I am speaking at a really cool venue at a local, I think it's Mudgeeraba Shopping Centre. I spoke there last year, and it's outside, like it's in a group of shops. It's this cool little courtyard. And I am speaking on a panel, get this, I'm speaking on a panel with Jane Caro and Soli, that little slam poet person. Oh, Raphael? Soli Raphael? Andrew, are you still there? Tell me what his name is. I am beside myself. When they asked me, I just did this huge, enormous shout in my office at work. I was beside myself. Jane Caro and the little Soli dude, the little slam poet, beside myself. Absolutely beside myself. If anybody is coming to Somerset Storyfest, can you let me know? Because I would really, really love to see you there. I'll put all of these details on my blog and on all my social media. But yeah, I'm really excited about all my events. And I guess I'll have to learn how to sign a book. Alison Tate, Soli, Raphael, Jane Caro, and Graeme Base. Thank you, Andrea Lewis. That's actually probably the highlight of my year to date. Me. They have no idea who I am. And I just fangirl over all three of those people. So I'm going to gather myself together for that event. We're speaking on a panel about all things children's literature, and I'm really, really excited about it. So if you are at the Gold Coast, last year there was wine and cheese. It was really, really nice. And yeah, if you were at the Gold Coast, please come along to that event or my morning one. Thank you, Catherine. Yes, I had a haircut and got my fringe sorted out because it was really bad. I don't know if anyone was on my Facebook Live last week, but my hair looked like Play-Doh because it was 90% dry shampoo. So I've like especially washed my hair for today. And yeah, all right, I'm going to stop. This is a ridiculously long Facebook Live. I'm actually now just talking because I have nothing else to do this afternoon. Yeah, I'm going to go deal with the bush turkeys. Tyson, you are useless. All right, have a nice weekend.